She had 3,000 pairs of shoes while her people starved. He stole $10 billion and claimed he found it in a Japanese war treasure. Their son is president right now. And a former lawmaker just accused him of taking $1 billion in cash kickbacks to the presidential palace. This is the Marcos family, the Philippines' most corrupt political dynasty. They were thrown out in disgrace, chased from the country by a revolution, and 36 years later, they walked right back into power like nothing happened. The Marcos dynasty begins with a man who understood that power in the Philippines was not given, it was taken. Ferdinand Marcos was born in 1917 in the northern province of Ilocos Norte, the son of a local politician who had lost his re-election bid. Young Ferdinand grew up in a world where political defeat meant poverty and humiliation, and he resolved never to lose. He was intelligent, charismatic, and ruthless, a combination that would carry him from provincial obscurity to the presidency, and from the presidency to infamy as one of the most corrupt rulers in modern history. Marcos rose through Philippine politics with remarkable speed. He served in the House of Representatives, then the Senate, and in 1965, he was elected president on a platform of rice, roads, and schools. The Philippines in the 1960s was one of Asia's most promising democracies, a former American colony with a growing middle class, a vibrant press, and a culture that blended East and West. Marcos promised to make it great. Instead, he made himself rich in 1972. Facing term limits and mounting opposition, Marcos declared martial law. He shut down newspapers, arrested opposition leaders without trial, and seized control of the courts and Congress. The official justification was communist insurgency and Muslim separatism. The real reason was simpler. Ferdinand Marcos wanted to be president for life, and martial law was how he would do it. For the next 14 years, the Philippines was ruled by decree. Thousands were tortured, disappeared, or killed by Marcos' security forces. The press was muzzled. Elections were rigged. And while the country suffered, the Marcos family plundered it with systematic precision. The scale of the theft was staggering. The official salary of a Philippine president was approximately $13,500 per year. Yet Ferdinand and Imelda Marcos accumulated an estimated fortune of over $10 billion. Some estimates go as high as $30 billion. They did not bother to hide it well. Imelda Marcos became the global symbol of grotesque excess. She collected art by Michelangelo, Botticelli, and Picasso. She bought real estate in Manhattan, including the Crown Building and the Herald Center. She threw a birthday party for herself that cost $5 million, while her people lived on less than $2 a day. When the revolution finally came and the Marcoses fled in 1986, the world discovered what they had left behind in Malacanang Palace. 1,060 pairs of Imelda's shoes, 508 gowns, 888 handbags, 15 mink coats, and enough jewelry to fill a vault. The shoes became a defining image of the regime, a woman with 3,000 pairs of footwear in a country where millions could not afford rice. But the real wealth was hidden. The Marcoses established shell companies, secret bank accounts, and real estate holdings across the world. They claimed the money came from the legendary Yamashita gold, a supposed Japanese war treasure hidden in the Philippines during World War II. The claim was absurd, but it was repeated so often that some believed it. The truth was simpler. They stole from the Philippine treasury, from foreign aid, from development projects, and from the sweat of a nation they treated as their personal property. For decades after their fall, governments and investigators hunted the hidden Marcos billions across Switzerland, the United States, and beyond. Some was recovered. Most was not. The People Power Revolution of February 1986 ended the Marcos regime. Millions of Filipinos filled the streets of Manila, facing down tanks with flowers and prayers, until the military defected and the Marcoses fled. They were airlifted from the palace by American helicopters, first to Guam, then to Hawaii, where Ferdinand Marcos died in exile in 1989. The new government of Corazon Aquino immediately charged them with gross corruption and began the long, frustrating process of recovering the stolen wealth. But the dynasty was not destroyed. It was merely displaced. Imelda Marcos returned to the Philippines in 1991 and immediately began rebuilding the family's political machine. She ran for president twice and lost, but she won a congressional seat and used it to rehabilitate the family name. Her children, Ferdinand Jr., Bongbong, Emi and Irene were groomed for political careers from childhood. Bongbong served as governor of Ilocos Norte Senator, and in 2022 achieved what seemed impossible. He was elected president of the Philippines, 36 years after his father was thrown out in disgrace. The son of the dictator was now the leader of the democracy his father had destroyed. The return of the Marcoses to power was not accidental. It was a result of decades of strategic myth-making, social media manipulation, and a deliberate erasure of historical memory. Bongbong Marcos built a massive following on TikTok, where history was rewritten into nostalgia, and his father's regime was remembered as a golden age of infrastructure and stability. The atrocities were forgotten, the plunder was dismissed, and a new generation voted for a name they recognized but did not understand. And corruption did not end with the father's fall. In late 2025, a former lawmaker named Zaldy Ko, who had fled the country after resigning from Congress, posted videos online claiming he had delivered almost $1 billion in cash kickbacks to the presidential palace on behalf of President Bongbong Marcos. He alleged that anomalous budget insertions were made at the behest of the president's own cabinet members, and that the president's son, an incumbent lawmaker, also benefited from the scheme. Meanwhile, Bongbong's own sister, Senator Emi Marcos, publicly alleged that her brother and his wife were drug users, a shocking accusation that revealed the dynasty was now eating itself from within. The president denied everything, challenged his accuser to return and provide evidence, and launch investigations against lower-level officials while avoiding any scrutiny of himself. But the pattern was unmistakable. The Marcos family had not changed. They had simply learned to hide it better. The Marcos dynasty is a story of how corruption, when left unpunished, becomes hereditary. Ferdinand Marcos stole a nation and died in exile, but his children inherited not just his name, but his playbook. The same alliances, the same techniques of mass manipulation, the same belief that power and wealth are the birthright of their bloodline. The Philippines is a democracy on paper, but the Marcos family treats it as a family business. The son of the dictator is now the president. His sister is a senator, his mother is a congresswoman, and their cousins and allies control key positions across government. The shoes are gone from Malacanang Palace, but the spirit of the regime has returned. And the next time you see a TikTok video praising the Marcos Golden Age, remember this. Behind every pair of Imelda's 3,000 shoes was a Filipino family that could not afford to eat. Behind every billion-dollar kickback is a school that was never built, a hospital that was never staffed, and a child who will never know what their country could have been. The Marcos family was thrown out by a revolution, and 36 years later, they walked back into the front door, smiling for the cameras, while the ghosts of their victims watched in silence.